Hey, good
What's
evening. We
going
are
on, man?
live here at April 15th, right in the middle of the month, and it's Thursday night. Welcome to our show. How you doing?
Doing great, man. Check out.
Yeah,
We got
good,
one
good.
more month before taxes are due. They gave us
Oh,
a delay.
geez, what are you doing?
They gave us a
What are you doing
delay.
mentioning it? What are
They
you
gave
doing
us
that
a delay.
mentioning that? Gosh,
Hey, I'm just letting
you gotta
people
bring me
know.
down.
I just let people know so they don't think they gotta rush out there the day before midnight and they got an extra month,
Well, that's true. That's true.
you
April
know?
15th would be the tax day. Yeah, you have to
Yeah.
have it postmarked by today, but they gave us some more time. So good point. Good
I'm
point.
just giving them
That's good.
little pointers, just a little
You know,
awareness.
the beauty of having one of the things that's nice about being married is that
Yeah,
you have in-laws that might be an expert in something like,
yeah.
for example, taxes.
It'd be great, wouldn't it?
Well, I do. I have a sister-in-law that is a professional
Yeah.
CPA, so
But you know what?
it is very stress-free for me. See, I wasn't even thinking about it because I don't even stress about it. See, we just collect it all and we give it all to her, and then it comes back in a couple weeks, and it's it. That's it.
You
It's
know what?
over.
We were talking about this one day about the different people, like in your families. We notice a lot in the black community. There's professions that we don't typically have a association with. For instance, now you do. Like the last 10 years has been more
Hmm.
easier to know people. It just
Oh, okay, I
the
see.
network. Like for instance, growing up, I don't know anyone that was an attorney growing up in my
Hmm.
family. No family friends who was an attorney.
Right.
I didn't
Okay.
know
Okay.
any doctors
Hmm.
who was a doctor growing up. I didn't know any doctors. I knew some nurses in the family, but I didn't know
Okay.
any doctors. When it came down to tax preparer, you might knew a friend's friend who knew a friend who knew a friend that did taxes on the side. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like I could go to my brother or my uncle or my somebody and say I need my taxes done and got to. I started doing my own by going through TurboTax. That's what I did
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
years. But the
Yeah.
fact
We
is, of
we did
not
the
knowing people.
TurboTax for years, and we did
So I,
different things.
so I asked a few friends of mine, like over the years, like, do you know an attorney in the family, or do you have an attorney? Oh yeah, my dad's brother, or yeah, my grandfather's best friend. I'm like, dang man, all the times I could have used an attorney. You know what I'm saying? So what I did was I have a friend of mine that I went to church that he was a check this out. I told you how it goes. A friend of a friend who knew a friend that had a friend that knew a friend. So a friend of mine from church has a good friend who's an attorney. And so I've had to use this guy several times and we became really good friends. And I've even called on his assistance to give advice to people I know, young people I know that needed legal advice or which steps
Okay.
to take. And a
Okay.
lot of times there's it's just a different connection with any profession when you know someone. Like even me, someone will come to me and say, I need my music taken care of or I need a video project done. And because
Oh,
it was a family
well,
member,
that's good. That's fun.
because it
Yeah.
was a family member or a good friend of a friend, I'll kind of
Yeah.
work that as a priority to get it done. And you know what I'm saying? It's just the relationship. And
Yeah.
so
I mean,
it's
I've
hard.
done so many weddings and funerals for family members that
Yeah.
it's good.
Yeah.
I it's a good thing to do for them. I don't mind doing that.
Well, see, in the
And
black community, we can find a preacher anywhere, man. We got preachers in the family. It's them other professions that cost a lot. You know what I'm saying?
oh, okay.
It's
Okay.
those
Sure. Yeah.
it's those professions that when you really you need somebody like right now, and it's like you got to go and try to find an attorney or something or a doctor. But anyway, man, what's the hot topics,
So
man? What's
there
coming?
is a lot
Hot
of things
topics this
going
week?
on. There's a lot of things going on this week. And I had to actually sit down and organize it today. We kind of made a list of things and said to make sure we didn't forget something. So the big news this week has been Dante Wright um, was shot and killed by police in Minnesota, only 10 miles from where um, the Chauvin trial is going on, during Chauvin and
Is it Siobhan or Chauvin?
Chauvin, excuse me. Sorry.
Just want to just make sure I
Derek
wasn't saying
Chauvin, excuse me.
it. Yeah.
So once again, Minnesota, and by now most of you have seen this. I bet you have seen it, or I hope that you've seen it, or you've heard about it at least. That somebody pulled a gun instead of a taser when she meant to pull a taser and she pulled the gun uh, instead, and then warned the uh, the offending person that she was going to use a taser, but then shot him.
Yeah.
And one shot was all it took. He got in his car and he rolled down the road and presumably died, um, 100 yards away. And that's all it took, and that was it. And she expressed shock at first. So, she resigned, and then she's being charged with second-degree manslaughter. So, I have a lot of questions for you. Is second-degree manslaughter enough in this case? Is it too much? Is it not enough at all?
It's questionable. And
Okay.
it's second degree manslaughter. It's going to be second degree manslaughter. I agree with
It's
that.
second-degree manslaughter, yeah.
I agree with that. And
You do? Okay.
reason why I say
How
that
come?
is because she didn't get out that car with the intention to kill this guy. I know that
No.
for a fact. But what
Okay.
she did have intention of doing is having to have to have on her mind that she may need to pull her weapon out. And the reason why I say that is because when they arrested the guy, when they pulled him over for whether it was air fresheners in the window, expired tags, whatever it was, he wasn't. The thought of being a violent person wasn't there. It shouldn't have been on their mind of being a violent person. Now, I'm not saying that when you get out of the car as an officer, you always have to be on guard for someone being violent. I got that, but then remember they were handcuffing him when she came out of the car later,
Hmm.
which you don't hear them talk about too much. Was saying that he has a warrant out.
Right. He had
So
a misdemeanor
a
warrant.
misdemeanor
So
warrant. Now you can see
take that
that
for what it is.
for
Hmm.
what I understand, you can see that when they pull it up. So that
Yes.
they right there, they knew he wasn't violent. It wasn't a violent crime.
Yep.
It was a minor crime, whatever it was.
That is an excellent point. His offenses, whatever they are, uh, I'm not sure what the heck air fresheners. You're being stopped for air fresheners in your
That's a
car.
common. That's common. That's a
It
common
is.
thing. Yes, they say that I've been stopped for air
Why?
fresheners in my window,
Really?
especially when you got a bunch of little trees, and I've been stopped.
In the back of your car, or in the
No,
front?
no, the right on your rear view mirror.
Why?
Hanging the air freshener that hang from your mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Why?
sometimes you'll put 3 or 4 of them together, put them on your window on your mirror because it makes your car smell good.
Well, I
And
mean, why would you get stopped for that?
because it's
I don't
viewing,
even get it.
it's obstruction of your vision. It's
Oh
obstructing
boy.
your
Well,
view.
that's a reach, but
That's like Darren. That's been since we were in high school.
see, I learn something new every day, and that is my thing.
Yeah,
That is what I learned today. So,
I've been stopped for having air fresheners in my window, and they said because it was
wow.
obstructing
Okay.
my view
No
of the
idea.
road.
No idea.
Yes.
So it was that. It was the expired tags. It was the
So
misdemeanor warrant. But that's a good
good.
point that
Yeah.
you made. That none of
Yeah.
those things would give any indication that he was a violent
Right.
offender.
So that's why I said that in her mind, she had on like she was on guard for her need to pull her weapon, in my opinion. Because if you notice, none of the other officers had their weapon out. She was the only one.
Yep, that's
She
true.
was the
That
only
is
one.
true.
And if you remember, she said taser before she said taser, because I saw her, the gun was in her hand already.
Yep.
Before she said taser, 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 the gun was in her hand. So she was fully aware, in my opinion, that she had
Right.
her gun. So
Yeah, and
so second
several
with that,
people have talked about the weight difference between a
yeah,
taser and a gun. So even if you weren't looking at it, a taser is yellow. It's connected to a cord.
yeah,
Okay, it's lighter than a gun,
yeah,
um, and they keep them on different hips on
yeah,
purpose.
right.
And she's a 26-year veteran. Just want to get the facts out there. Go ahead. Sorry to interrupt you.
She's a training veteran. She's a
Yeah.
trainer. She trains cops on this stuff. So if you look at all that in perspective, and then watch the black officer's face after she shoots
See, I didn't see
Dante.
anyone's face except for
He's
his.
right there. He's like,
Yeah, he kind of turned to her.
and
I'm not sure that I saw his face,
he was
but I'll have
shocked.
to look at it
Yes.
again.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. His face is there, and it's a face of what did you just do? Like, like it was a shock. Like, it was shock because it is
I
what it
mean,
is, man. So second degree manslaughter,
there
I
was
can see.
no reason for that. There was no
Yeah.
reason for that. There was no
No reason.
reason to to react that way, to pull a weapon, maybe even any weapon. I'm not even sure that it warranted being tased.
Well, if you
Okay,
think
so what?
about it,
He gets in his car, and then what?
he takes off and he crashes. He dies. He dies right there instantly. There's
No, I
one.
mean, if he wasn't shot or if he wasn't harmed in any way, so what? He gets in his car and he drives.
They know where
So
he
you
lives.
so you get so you get in the car and you chase after him.
You don't have to chase him. You have his ID. You know where he's at. You know where he lives.
Yeah.
I mean, unless he's going to skip town off a misdemeanor, I doubt it.
Well,
He didn't.
there it is.
If
There
he
it
had
is.
robbed a bank or murdered somebody, he will probably skip town. None of those were the case. He's not going to skip town off a misdemeanor when
Yeah, it
he
was.
has a kid.
We need to. I think we need to totally reevaluate the response that police
Yeah.
are using. There's no
So,
reason to always use a gun.
well, I'm not going to get some
There's no
haters.
reason to always use a gun.
I'm going to get some haters tonight because the haters always say, Lamar, you always got to bring race into the conversation. You always got to bring race into the conversation. So I do this because sometimes you got to have measuring sticks. Although crimes are totally different, issues are totally different. But
Yeah.
what
Context,
causes
where
what causes an officer to grab his gun or to shoot someone in the back or
mhm,
to shoot
mhm.
someone's an arm when they have the leverage as officers and backup? So this guy, like, it's an old video. I think it's from like 2018, and I saw this guy
No,
struggling
it's
with the
not that old,
cops.
but okay.
No, it's not. I'm not sure
And
how old it is, but he's struggling with the cops, and it's like they don't. They, I think they beat him. They do hit him with the billy club,
yeah, I
but
think we need to see this.
they never put the gun out. And I'm
I
like,
think we need to see this.
yeah, watch this.
Jerry, do what they say. Jerry, do what they say. Jerry, do what they say. Jerry. 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 You're going to get hurt, Jerry, if you don't stop.
Help!
You're going to get a charge, Jerry. Stop it. Stop, Jerry. Jerry, you're gonna get in trouble. Jerry, they're gonna hurt you. Jerry. Jerry, don't do it. Jerry, don't do it.
Okay, so he assaulted both officers, punching them, pushing them, um, then drives away in their. I'm sorry to laugh. It's not funny. He drives away in the police.
Oh, it's
They
funny.
let
It's
him
funny.
go. They let him go. Now, I'm sorry. Like, the woman could have reached for a taser, could have reached for a gun. She reached for the billy club, which I think is the the other end of the flashlight that police officers have.
Yeah.
and starts beating with it. But she could have used a weapon, and we would have said, well, that would have been justified, right?
Yeah. The taser would have did a job
He
right
was
there.
hitting her. He was hitting her.
Why was
And
the guy on the inside? Why didn't he come around and help?
that was weird.
He was like a little wimp.
He must have been trying to push him out.
He
I,
must have
I
been
was
a.
trying to figure out like why he was there to begin with. He was trying to push him out, I think.
He might
And
have been a
then
rookie. He's a weak guy though. If he couldn't push that guy out with the girl holding on to him, he's very weak. And
yeah,
he
I
and he
was
and he get the little girl hit like he just
yeah,
hit him real. I mean, not to make fun of little girl hits.
that
I don't
was
want people calling me and telling me I'm being sexist.
bizarre. It was bizarre. I mean, the woman in the background, you're gonna get hurt, Jerry, Jerry, Jerry. You're gonna get hurt. They're gonna hurt you.
Man, they look like a
Um,
Laurel and Hardy flick when they flipped onto the ground. They look like a Laurel and Hardy
it was
skit
like
or
the
something.
Keystone Cops a bit. I mean,
And
but then
that
but
was a
there was
Little Rock.
they had backup though. It sounded like they had
Yeah,
backup because I heard
they
a
were
police
coming.
car in the
Yeah,
background,
they
right?
weren't. They weren't there. They
So
might have ran out of gas on the way. I don't know. They were on the way. Then the siren stopped. But that was in Little Rock,
they took
Arkansas,
away
man.
in their police car.
That was Little Rock, Arkansas. It was December 8th, 2018. They
So
never did say what the guy did. I mean,
no,
they never did
I
say,
don't think he was in his right mind. I don't think he was in his right. It didn't seem like he was in his right mind
and they
because
gave him.
was he shouting for help or something?
Oh,
And
here we
then
go. Here we go. Jerry York, 51 of North Little Rock, faces a count of fleeing, theft of property, criminal mischief, and multiple battery charges following incident between him and the deputies back on December 8th. And York's twin brother, Larry York, admits that his brother calls the cops quite often because he's seeing things.
hmm.
So that was a case of mental, what do you call it? Mental health. But
And
but he lived. But
we
he
have
lived
seen police react
differently.
differently with somebody's not in their right mind,
Yeah.
violently. So I have to go back to the examples where we show things side by side, and the white guy carrying an MK uh, in the neighborhood, and then a black guy
Yeah.
does the same thing in the same town. Um, and you see the police reaction, right? And then we see the police reaction with Dante Wright, and then this guy. I know it was in different state,
Mhm.
different circumstances, but still, you have to scratch your head and say, how is this consistent police work?
I mean, it's going to be a thing that's going to continue to happen until people speak up and not tolerate it anymore. Until we start speaking up, well, everyone has to speak up. It can't just be a few people. Everyone has to say, "Okay, this is enough." And that wasn't the only one. It was a second situation similar to that, where um, a person was given every opportunity,
Yep.
and they pleaded with the guy, and for some reason, they didn't think it was necessary to, do anything or whatever.
Well, let's talk about protests. Let's talk about when after this week, after the Dante Wright shooting, there was protest in
Mhm.
Minneapolis. How long did it take for them to get out the rubber bullets and tear gas?
Not long at all.
How long? How long?
Same day.
And then what happened on January 6th?
Well,
Police were running away from the crowd,
one lady got
from
shot.
the protested.
One lady got shot. You know they're using her now as a what do you call it? Like a martyr almost. She's they're comparing her to Dante Wright. They're
I'm sorry.
saying that no, they are.
I'm
They're
sorry.
comparing. No, conservative media is comparing the two because they're saying that she was unarmed and got shot, and she wasn't doing anything violent. She wasn't. She didn't have any warrants. The difference is, the difference is that she was breaking into something, a government building, and she was shot. Dante Wright was being apprehended, and the police violated the shooting. There was a violation of him being shot. There
Yes.
wasn't a
Yes.
violation of the Capitol Police shooting that lady coming through the Capitol because she didn't walk through the front door. She walked through a window. That was
I
a
mean,
violation. That's the
the diff
difference.
yeah, I mean, the difference is that when you get people who look like me and are my age and they say to me, I just know that if it were my son, that
Mhm.
wouldn't have happened to him.
Yeah.
And when you get people admitting that, I
Mhm.
think that's what it takes for change to start to happen. At least the realization that there is something, that there is an injustice.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
That was an injustice.
Well, it didn't have to happen in that situation. Like when they broke into the Capitol, you didn't know what the outcome was going to be.
Hmm.
You didn't know how they were fearing that they were going to try to take over the Capitol, so you didn't know what the outcome was going to be. In the
Hmm.
Dante Wright situation, if he had gotten away, you know what the outcome could be. You go get him. You know,
Yeah.
you go get
I mean,
him.
you're the police. You have every advantage.
Yeah,
You have 90% of the time you have every advantage, unless you're trying to like take down a drug cartel or something, and they're armed like you are.
yeah,
Um, then you have every advantage. You can call backup, as you said. You
yeah,
have all the equipment there.
yeah.
You have the law on your side. Okay,
Exactly.
so you have every advantage in
Yeah.
that situation, and so showing restraint should be the mode of operation.
Well, it shows in a lot of cases, law enforcement has a lot of discipline. They can hold their weapon in their holster and not touch it for a very long time because we've seen it happen with
We've seen it happen, but
a lot of
not
times.
always, though.
But it always seems to be an issue of race where these
Hmm.
things
Yep.
escalate. And
Yes.
it was funny because like when I listened to the George Floyd trial, the trial this past week,
Hmm.
they gave the comparison of these experts of saying when to use excessive force. And the question came up like early on about George Floyd's size. He was like 6'4" or 6'5".
Yeah.
Okay, he's a black man that's 6'4", 6'5".
It's the
Why?
Chauvin trial. He's the one that's on trial. George
Yeah.
Floyd
So
isn't. Hmm.
why is no, but this is what you hear a lot though. You hear this all the time. Oh, he was a big black guy. Why is that a threat?
So why
I
is that
mean,
any relevance?
but a big white guy is not a threat either. Is he not threatening as well? So and then it makes me think: Are people really that scared of black people? Are they really that scared? Like, is it? What is it? What is it that brings this fear factor? What is it that make a person jump out of his shoes and react so um
I don't know.
like overreact to like a large degree? And if you think about it, this goes back to when the police department first started. Because if you remember from our constitution, slaves were considered three-fourths human. Okay? That mentality sticks. If the way Chauvin knelt on George Floyd's neck was like he was not human. It was
Yep.
like
Yep.
it was like
Hmm.
Darren Chauvin was the hunter
Yep.
and George Floyd was the prey. If you look at all these murders that you've seen happen that we consider unjust, it was like they were not their value as a human wasn't valued. I mean, I'm not talking about a
Yeah.
criminal case. I'm not talking a person who just committed a major crime and they get killed. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about counterfeit $20 bill and you die.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Now, when we move a little farther, if we move forward to the Adam Toledo. Now, I thought it was Toledo, but I was listening to the
Well,
news report
when
today.
I
It's
read it,
Toledo.
I said Toledo because
I
I
did
live in
too.
Ohio.
Right,
You lived in Ohio forever.
right,
So I said Toledo. Okay.
right.
Toledo.
But when
Okay.
I heard it, but when I heard
Tomato,
that
tomato. But
when they
um,
said his name, then they properly said his name in the media. Then I
yeah.
knew the pronunciation. So I said that so people when they see it, they won't say Toledo anymore. Because
Right.
I so anyway,
Well, that's good. That's good.
if you move to that story a little bit, I brought it up earlier in our prep for the show that um, you could almost say the cop was justified in shooting if you look at it from a broad scope and say he had a
Yeah.
gun, he was running. But this is where I backtrack as a outsider looking on the inside. So you're in the police car, right? You see the guy down the street. Why don't you yell, "Hey, stop"? Why are you causing him to run and you have to chase this guy? So that's one thing. The second thing is the the officer says he has a gun, turns around, so he shoots him. The the lawyer says he dropped the gun when he was told to turn around. He complied and turned around.
Right. And
Now,
now it's just going to be the officer's word because the victim is no
right.
longer with us. So.
Well, my question I asked you earlier, because every time they show that clip, they show him turn around, get shot, and then there's a still picture of the gun laying by a fence. How close is his body to that gun? If you have a gun in your hand and you get shot,
It's going
as
to
you're
fall
turning, it's going to fall probably where you're
close
at,
to you.
close
Yeah.
to you, or it might be
If
even
you
still in your
throw it
hand.
away or drop it, it's going to be further away from you.
Exactly. So I haven't heard yet how close that gun is to his body.
Yeah.
That changes this narrative. If it's close to his body,
Yeah.
it's probably to believe that he had it in his hand.
This
If he
is
dropped
why
it,
go ahead.
no,
I
if he
mean, this
dropped
is why I say that there needs to be another way to engage with suspects or
there
to
is other
engage
way.
with somebody with a gun. Why does it have to be one shot, one kill? Here's
Well, we've
Dante
seen
Wright,
it,
one shot, he was killed. Here's this
but we've
13-year-old
seen it.
kid, one shot, shot in the chest. That's it. Death is final. There's no second chance. There's no like oops.
But we've
When
seen
you
this
pull
story
out a
time and
gun,
time
there
again.
is no oops. There is death.
Yeah.
Okay? Because you are trained in that handgun as an officer. Okay? And so you are deadly with it. Okay? If you in the right circumstances, you can shoot someone in the chest one time and they are gone. They are dead.
Well, the
And so in
story.
this case, it's
I'm
like,
sorry.
13, 20 years old. Um, these people are at the start of their lives, and it's just sad. Go
Well,
ahead.
no, and I was cutting you off, and I apologize about that.
No.
Um,
I just had a thing I wanted to get across, and
well, it
I'm
happens.
good now.
It happens. It happens often that the the it's the only the last time I seen a white guy get shot who probably shouldn't have gotten shot was in Arizona, and I think the guy was going through a mental breakdown, and he was on his hands and knees, and the cops said he reached for something, and they just shot him in the hallway. I think it was a hotel or apartment building.
Yeah, I remember that.
I remember that one, and that one was kind
I
of deep.
remember that.
But I've seen so many other stories time and time again where the guy lives, and I'm just looking through it now. He was white and the cops didn't shoot. I'm watching. It's like time and time again. This is the one that was funny. He's the guy's running around naked in the yard. And they don't shoot him. But we just had another one in Texas last week, or was it earlier this week? Officers was shot by a guy in a car, and the guy took carjacked a woman, took her car and left. Well, they finally caught the guy. So he was an armed guy, known to be armed, but they were able to apprehend him peacefully. And he
See,
shot a cop. The
it
cop
can
didn't
be
die.
done. It
It
can be
can be
done.
done. That's the point I'm making. It can be done. But it took some days. They found him some days later. But it's an ongoing story, and it's bothering me. I'm exhausted, dude. I'm literally exhausted.
I know that the
Um,
news this week is exhausting.
so Joe Elder said, "United." See, it worked this time, Darren. So
We are
I was
getting
able.
comments
I
from
can see the
our
comments.
people.
So the
So,
United Kingdom has cops with no guns.
yep.
Yeah, but United Kingdom don't have as many guns in a country as America does. So
And I was just about to say
that's not gonna fly here. I mean,
there
you
are
have
so many guns in our society that it's just there's too many for one,
you got
and it's
people
kind of out
in
of hand.
America. You got people in America who owns more guns than the whole country of the UK. You
Hmm.
got you can have more guns in one household than you do in the whole UK. So
Well, I don't know about that, but
I mean that was an exaggeration, but they have people who have arsenals that's ridiculous here, in our country. But the whole point is the difference of how they're handled. These people are
yeah,
handled, and it's exhausting. But man, so a lot of these stories we're going to dig into more. So you guys check us out on this coming Saturday. But there's so many things. I mean, you look down at. Oh, here's one for you. It took for Biden to get in office for us start kicking Russians out of our country that need to be kicked out. Now, how much the
He's getting
problem?
serious with Russia. He's getting serious.
But what's the damage that's been done from the time they were identified 2 years ago to now?
I'm
What
not
has
sure that we know the full extent of the damage that they did, but the damage that and the other factor is it's hard to say and it's hard to prove the damage that they did because what they did was a sort of an informational sabotage, right? And of spreading lies and misinformation.
right?
So how do you quantify that, or how do you prove what they did exactly, and in the results that had upon votes, upon our processes, whatever it was.
Well, they got
There was
names.
what was the name of that? I'm having a mental block, but what was the name of that leak that happened, or that hack, that solar winds, the solar winds hack?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I mean, most people don't understand uh, the kinds of things that go on in cyber warfare, myself included. I don't fully understand all of that stuff,
Yeah.
but I know it's harmful because so much of our lives is on the internet, and so you just don't
Yeah.
know. I
The
don't think you're going
information.
to know all the stuff all the harm that it did.
Well, you look at they have names. They can trace things they've done. They can
Hmm.
trace through cell documentation. They have ways of tracing things that these people have done. We don't know every. They had a list of some things that people were engaged in a couple years ago during that around the time. Remember when they caught the lady, the Russian lady? She was from the Ukraine actually.
Yeah, yeah, I remember
They
that.
arrested her. Notice they didn't go down the line and get the other people.
They stopped, or we
But
stopped hearing about it.
only
We
thing I
stopped
know
hearing about it, maybe.
they did have some people leave out of Silicon Valley because a lot of them had these. They worked for all of our major companies. A lot of these
Hmm.
people work for our major companies. That's our tech companies. And so some of them was put out of the country back then, but then there were several that left that stayed. And I'm like, well, why didn't they kick them out? Why didn't they get rid of them? Why didn't they arrest them? Now they just expelled them from our country. Why weren't they arrested? What did you expel them for? You kick them out of the country for what reason? Was it like arrest worthy? Like I said, Dante Wright just got shot for running from the cops. You got people who try and destroy our democracy, and and you just say get out. So anyway, they also impose sanctions that I know Putin is not happy about. He's going to be upset.
I guess that's probably the only thing that you can do for foreign citizens, that you could expel them. I mean, it's like you do something really bad at school, you get kicked out of school. You do something really bad in someone else's country, you get kicked out. And unless you murder somebody,
Yeah,
unless you have like some sort of uh, more traditional crime,
right.
it's going to be hard to charge these people because they're citizens of other countries. So you kick them out, you send them back to where they came from,
Yeah,
and you revoke their privileges to come back. And I,
I'm
I
looking to
guess that's the
see.
only thing that you could do. I don't know what else you can.
I wanted to see how this develops, how this story progresses on,
Well,
because
there was a lot to these sanctions, and I didn't even get through the whole list. There was some like 38 things or something
a
like that.
bunch of stuff there.
And
Yeah,
when I first heard about it, I said, "Well, that sounds like um, I don't know. It just sounded like a story that the president will do to kind of distract from something else, or
yeah,
it didn't sound very major. But then
right.
I heard the story. They're talking of like it sounds like they've been compiling this information for a long time. One of the things I thought was like, oh, that's too little, too late.
Yeah,
The damage has already been done, and now they're going to do something about it. This was years ago. So,
2000,
but
2015 and
when
16.
I heard about all the things that they were talking about, it's like, oh well, okay. So they're taking this stuff seriously now. They compile a list of all these things that have happened in the last 5 years, and
Mhm.
and they're going down the list, and they are naming names, like you
Yeah,
said.
that's what they're going to do. And things just continue to develop with the government. So now you have the leaked UFO videos, right, from the Navy.
Yeah, I saw those, and at at you could expect them to be very grainy, and they're
Mhm.
not going to show very much. They're not going to
Why
be
is that
very
the case?
very detailed.
Why is that always the case?
It's always the case because you know that if it's like crystal clear that it's probably faked, or that it's a hoax. So I mean, if it's okay, so there's triangles in the sky. I mean,
Well, think about this.
okay,
When people
I,
talk
I
to me
mean
about
we don't know what it was, so could be aliens.
when people talk to me about UFOs, this is the reality. This is the, like, to bring them back into reality. This is what I tell them. No, really, because there are a lot of technology out there that we don't know about. The military has technology that's usually 5 to 10 years in advance before it even comes out.
Yes.
Cell phones, they were already out in the, from an intelligence standpoint versus when we got them. Those type of things. So
The internet was
the
not
internet,
since
yeah.
the 70s.
So can you imagine? You're just hanging out one night and it's dark out, and you got the sun. Say you're in where I'm at is really dark, and when the sun shines, it
Okay.
lights up a big area. I'm not the sun. I'm sorry, not the sun. When the moon comes
Moon?
out,
The moon?
the moon like lights up my whole side of my house. It's like a
Okay.
big flashlight, right? So and I look up at the sky every night at stars and everything because I'm fascinated with looking at stars. So if I had
Cool.
looked up and I saw something in the sky, this is, say it was in 1980, and I saw this thing, and I saw it coming, then I saw it just hover right over me, and then take off. In say the late 70s, early 80s, that could have been a stealth bomber that they were working with.
Yeah.
Would
Yeah.
that not look like a UFO to you?
Yep.
It will freak me the heck out. I'll be like, wait a minute, that's
A
like aliens.
a lot of the UFO sightings are probably military aircraft, as they've been sighted near military bases out
Every
west
time.
that
Every time.
deal with stealth technology or
Yeah.
top secret missions and things like that. So
I wish Bria was on this show, man. They get this story. So Bria and her brother Bryce and her mom was driving up 90, coming from Toledo, going to Cleveland. And it was at night, like maybe 10 o'clock at night. And no, they was coming up Route 2. I'm sorry, Route 2. And they said they saw something, a UFO in the sky. They saw something, a plane or something that flew by, and it didn't look like a regular plane or a helicopter, but it was really different.
okay.
So I was like, okay. So me again, I'm thinking like, okay, whatever. So they come on home and they're like freaking out. What is all along Route 2?
Airports.
Military bases.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why couldn't it have been something different? Why couldn't it have been a military aircraft or a
A strange
plane that they're working,
helicopter or
a
something.
strange
Yeah.
helicopter or a plane of some sort? There's the Perry base up there. And there's a couple more going, there's the National Guard spot up in Toledo off of I
Yeah.
forgot what
You know,
like in the Maumee area. There's a lot of stuff going on along the waterway right there.
yeah. As much as I think it would be cool if there were aliens and UFOs and things like that, I'm just not convinced. I've never seen one. Um, I've known people that have and are totally convinced of what they saw,
Yeah,
that it was not from this world.
right.
Um, but you know, seeing is believing. I haven't seen one yet.
Yeah,
I like to look at the stars too.
yeah,
I haven't seen anything quite that abnormal, so I can't say that there is.
yeah,
And but I mean, I just think it would be cool if there was, to be honest. Um,
yeah. I know. I
I,
had a
I guess I don't think it would be as scary as a prospect as Hollywood promotes it. We have all these movies and entertainment and things like that 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 seem to play into the narrative that if we're not alone in the universe, they must be hostile and they must be advanced.
like Jeff
And
is saying. The difference is the military is reporting, and you got a point there, Jeff. He has a point there. The military is
why
reporting
would
the
they
UFO.
do that though? I don't understand why they would do
Well,
that.
what if the Navy? What if it was something they're working on, and like the Navy is who's spotting these, the Navy pilots.
So they're
But
trying to
what if?
cover the fact that they are experimenting with stuff with another story, or
So what if the Army or the Air Force is working on something top secret and they're not talking about it?
okay,
That doesn't mean every branch of the military knows what the other branches are doing or working on.
okay, I see what you're saying.
You know
All
what I'm
right,
saying?
okay,
That's why it's top secret.
okay.
So, I mean, you make a good point there, Jeff, but then also I got to push back to say that doesn't mean the Navy knew what another branch was doing. But check
Well,
this
it
out.
would be. Go ahead.
No, a buddy of mine, this was just like last year. A buddy of mine sent me a picture and he said he saw a UFO. This is in Cleveland. He was on the west side. He lives in Garfield, but he was like in Brecksville somewhere, and it was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was sunny out, and you see this oblong
Mm,
shaped thing in the sky,
yeah.
right?
Okay. Okay.
And he's like, "What could that be, Lamar? It's not a plane. It's not a helicopter. Look at it. A plane doesn't look like that." And you
Right.
can see it like in a distance, and
Yeah.
then
Big
you see the
cigar
sun.
looking thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And I
Hmm.
told him, I said, um, when you get home tonight, look and see if the blimp was over the game today. And it was I think it was the blimp because it looked like a blimp. You know what I'm saying? But it was like in a distance, and then
Okay.
you had the sun glare reflecting because the blimp is shiny, so the
Yeah.
sun was
Okay.
reflecting off of
Could
it.
be. Okay. Okay.
And I'm almost sure the blimp was in Cleveland that day, and so I can't remember how we had this conversation later, but the blimp was in Cleveland. I think it was either I'm almost sure it was an Indians game, and the blimp was in town. And so I'm like,
There you go. Could have been a blimp. Who knows?
and I'm like, that's how I think. I try to rationalize things like, well, does this make sense? And could this
Hey,
be a possibility?
I mean, if it's true, then they've been around for a long, long time, and we're still here.
Why are they
So
always
maybe
smarter than
maybe they're
us?
friendly. Maybe they're friendly. Maybe they're just
Why
watching us.
But why is it always that every alien that comes to our country, to our planet, is more advanced than we are? Everyone.
Presumably because they can travel from one world to the next, and we can't. So there, that would be
Possibility.
that would be the that'd be the reason why we assume that.
But what if they're right in our solar system? We don't even know it. What if they're sitting on Uranus somewhere?
Exactly.
You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? They don't have to be in another world. See, you just went far out there, so they came from another world. They could be right here.
Well, I mean, I was just using that to answer your question.
No, no, right.
You asked the question, why
Right,
why do
right, right,
why do
right,
we assume that they are
right.
more advanced? And the reason is because they've traveled to us. If we
Yeah,
would travel to somewhere else and discover aliens, then we would assume we are more advanced.
I got you. I got you. It just irks me. I'm like, man, why can't we be the bright ones for once? But then again, like Elon Musk thinks that aliens built the pyramids, and all the statues. He think those are aliens. So I'm like,
He's been watching a lot of those cable shows that Ancient Aliens, I think. I don't know.
Joe said that's sitting on Uranus. Yeah, right.
Yep,
But
you know it. You know it.
but then like
Well,
one of our
there's a lot of things we can talk about. So if there's anything out there that you would like to have us talk about, if there's something we're forgetting, if there's something that's important to you that you would like to have as a topic as a part of our show, those of you that listen to us on a
yeah.
regular basis, let us know.
Well,
Go ahead.
this is the one that's pissing me off right now in Texas though. It's kind of like it's
Yeah,
it's
this
it's
makes me
really
mad too. This
I
makes
don't
me
know if
mad.
I downloaded a video for that or not. I can't remember. I don't think I did, but man, it's pissing me off. We'll talk about it more on Saturdays. I'm sure we can have some more information, but we have the students in Texas. These students were having. Is that me or you? The students they're holding a slave trade auction, and they got busted for it. I want y'all to bring the article up, and this is to show you where our country is right now. This is 2021,
Yeah,
and
yeah. People are cruel. People are
and
cruel.
and these are the things that they're doing, and they're right here in my state of Texas. This
Yeah,
wasn't too far from us.
yeah.
I mean, I'm right here in the state. You know what I'm saying? So, um, I was looking for the article on it. But what do you think of that, Darren? As you know, you're a person who, I think, has an open mind. You you look at things from a good perspective. You look at things from both sides, and you bring up. This doesn't make freaking sense. What kind of parent is this that will raise a kid that would do these things?
Well, I can't imagine any parent would be proud of this. I think that this is sad and deplorable. When you first brought this up, I hadn't heard of it, unfortunately, but
Yeah,
I should be more aware, I guess. But I thought that it was some sort of class exercise that would be dubious at best.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
a teacher was trying to educate their students about that period of time, and so maybe as a shock treatment, they were trying. Um, he or she tried to do like hold a slave auction in history class to
These are
try to
ninth
like
graders.
say. And so yeah,
Ninth graders, man.
you would think that ninth graders would be a little bit more savvy and and more understanding, and just have a better view of the world. Because when you say this, I'm thinking, okay, eighth graders, junior high. This sounds like a junior high thing, that like people, when kids are so cruel to each other and
Yeah,
they don't know enough. It's wrong that they're cruel, but
yeah,
they don't know enough, like, to really think about what they're doing. Okay, this is
yeah.
this was what reminded me. So as ninth graders, that's just sad. That's sad. I mean,
But where do they get
it's
this?
bullying. It's bullying in the worst degree. It's the same as, like, you go online and you're slut shaming somebody
Yeah.
on Twitter. This is it. This is like that. This is like that.
This was on Snapchat. It's the game was called Slave Trade. One student was they posted for $1. They said, and would be better if his hair wasn't so bad. This is
Oh,
in this is in Fort. This is like southwest of Fort Worth.
it's hard for me to talk about this stuff.
Yeah, one kid went for $100. But these are the things that we need to expose. We need to say this is what's going on, and this is, like I said, this is like about an hour from me. An hour from where I live, and so it's
Does it?
personal because it bothers me that
They were
students would be this
suspended,
cruel.
right? Because when I looked
I'm
up the
looking for
article, it didn't
the.
say anything
I'm looking.
about it.
They say there was disciplinary action taken according to the
Yeah.
school
Okay.
student
Well, what's
conduct,
that?
but it doesn't say what it is. So parents are looking. They say, let me see. This target student because of their race is not only prohibited but also profound impact on the victims. They just say they were disciplined, but it doesn't say what the discipline was. I haven't found that yet. That was from NBC. But these kids, this is what you call suspension. Like I would expel these kids for the rest of the school year for this because of the
Yeah.
climate. Because of the
Yeah.
climate of our country.
Definitely suspended and probably expelled.
Because of
Go
the
ahead.
climate of our country and what we see going on with adults in our country. Now I'm not saying, or just say it this way.
You wonder where people get these ideas, and like when they approach somebody different in the store and start yelling at them,
They learn it from their
like
parents.
get out of our country kind of thing. You wonder where that kind of stuff comes from. Here you go.
And remember, it was just it was just last month when the little boy was harassed and they made him drink urine. Remember? That was just last
Oh,
month.
yeah.
So what I'm saying is that there's
Yeah.
something
That's
going on in Texas. There's something going on here with the kids in Texas. These are middle school kids learning this from where? The adults. They're learning it from their parents. They're learning it from that peer circle that revolves this
No,
kind
and
of
I
garbage.
agree with you. We need to expose these things, because to expose them says that, hey, this is not okay. We all know that this is not okay, but we don't say anything about it.
No.
We don't say anything about it often enough. We don't s- say to people, hey, that's not cool. That's not okay. That's not okay the
And
way you treat that person.
it's not.
To
It's
your
like
friends, to your neighbors, to your coworkers, people who you might even call a friend or even a family member. Too often we have looked the other way.
yeah,
Um I'm talking about people I know that,
yeah,
hey, that they'll say something, and I'm like, well, that's not good. That's not okay.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. But that's where we're at, man. And just continue to bring awareness to these things. I got one more for you, man. What do you think about this? So there were a lot of companies a lot of corporate American companies were against the um, uh, the voter suppression laws, these new these voter rights bills that are coming out. These bills that people are saying are voter suppression. The other side is saying it's not voter suppression. Is you want to get a hold of who's voting and who's not, and all that stuff. So you had corporate America condemning the action of states like Georgia and Texas and Mississippi for these laws, for these bills they're actually putting into place, right?
yeah, yeah.
Well, this week those same corporate
This is a good topic. Yeah, I wanted to talk about this with you. Go ahead.
uh, but this week those same companies who condemned them by voice would not sign a document or a letter saying they stood behind condemning these countries, these states. They were like big companies, big airlines and banks and all that stuff. They didn't say anything. They were like, well, we're not going to say too much. But last month they were like, that's not right. This is wrong. And yes, I stand in front of the cameras. And I'm saying this is wrong.
You
But
know
now it's
why?
time
You
to
know
put
why?
you put your name to paper now. You
You're
put your
putting
name
your
to
name to
paper.
paper, and it's no longer headline news.
It's accountability. That means now there's accountability. You have to stand up now because you're putting your name
Yep.
to it.
Yep.
Now you have to say, I don't agree with this, and I'm not going to tolerate not only in my state, but within my own company. You have
Yeah,
to stand behind it.
what do you think about the perspective? This is what I wanted to ask you about. This is a little bit change the topic, but what do you think about the perspective of how it hurts local economies? We'll use the example of Major League Baseball, the Major League Baseball All-Star game, excuse me,
Yeah.
that was going to be held in Atlanta.
Hmm.
And a lot of people are pointing that and saying that if you boycott, if you're going to pull out, if you're going to pull out the event, there's a lot of local businesses and a lot of people that are going to miss out on that economic involvement and maybe even jobs because you decided to pull out your event. So are you hurting people and it's not going to amount to any significant change? Are you making a stand that's going to harm people and not get to your goal
So,
and not achieve your goal?
so what if the All Star game wasn't in Atlanta that year? It was in Cincinnati. Well,
And the
nothing
people
but
in Cincinnati would benefit and the people in Atlanta would not.
okay. And
Okay.
see what I'm saying?
I mean,
It's not like you. It's not like the Olympics
okay,
where
I
you
think most
in
of
a,
the most of
in
the
a,
people in Atlanta would probably uh, agree that those laws, those Georgia laws, are wrong.
did they right?
The
But what I'm
people that
saying is
live in
that
Atlanta would be against those
now
laws.
what would be wrong would be if you pulled out, like say for instance, the Olympics were in Atlanta and you had to build new structure, new stadiums, you built new things. That
Okay,
means there were new jobs, and it will hurt the economy now because you were building something which brings jobs and money into that community.
right.
This is not the case. This is a game. You hire more people to work the stadium. Restaurants would have had more people. Hotels would have had more people. But remember,
But
when we had the pandemic going on and everybody shut down, what state was still open? Georgia. Atlanta was full fledged. They was going all out with the barbershops open, everything. They made their money. Everybody else was shut down.
okay,
So I
okay.
don't.
Well,
I
that's a
mean,
good point. That's a good
so
point.
it's like
Yeah.
I don't. I'm not even. I mean, it's sad that people might have been able to get some extra part-time work longer hours, but it's not like they were building new venues or building
So
new structures
so
because of the
because
World
it's
Series.
because it's a temporary thing,
It's a
because
one game.
it's a one thing, one time
Yeah.
event. Okay. Okay.
I'm not worried about that. I mean, if it was like I said, if it was something that was going to bring an economy over several weeks or over a month to that city, that's different. But we're talking about a one game thing. Okay, 2 nights. The home run derby, and the All-Star game. 2 days. You weren't building nothing new for that. You just stayed open later and you probably had more customers that month. So I'm not that doesn't phase me. I'd rather see the big companies hurt because of the boycott, because they are going to hurt for that. The city
Okay.
hurts for that. It looks bad for the city of Atlanta now. It looks bad for the state of Georgia. I think that hurts more than the potential extra hours you would have worked for those 2 days. That's
Okay.
my opinion.
Okay.
That's just my opinion.
But there's
I,
other states that are doing the same thing that are not getting that kind of attention.
yeah. What 37 states? So
Does anyone
doesn't
still watch the Major League Baseball All-Star game? I
it's
do.
been about 2 years since I watched the All Star game.
Well, as far as All-Star games go, it's actually one of the more interesting All-Star games because usually the other All-Star games they're out there just kind of doing playground
Yeah.
stuff. So
Now it means
you're,
something.
because you don't want to get injured. So in
Yeah.
baseball, where the injury rate is less per game, they do take it seriously, and especially now that it means something with
Yeah.
the World Series
Who gets
home
the
field
home field?
advantage.
Yeah, that makes a difference.
So I think they do really care about it. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like it used to be. That's for sure. I mean, I can remember where who was it? Some of the Cincinnati Reds players in the '70s. They put a lot of emphasis on that All-Star game. They
Yeah,
really because you didn't play each other. You didn't. The American League didn't play the National League back
yeah,
then, and so
yeah,
they really had a lot of emphasis. That was a matter of pride for them. But
yeah.
it doesn't mean as much as it used to. But I think people still watch it.
Well,
If you're a baseball fan, you watch it.
this is my suggestion to the people in Atlanta. This is my suggestion to them. If you are that upset because they're boycotting within your state, do something about it.
That's
Do
good.
something
That's
so
good.
it won't happen
Hmm.
again.
Okay,
Do something so you won't have to worry about
vote them
this type
out.
of stuff. Exactly. You can change what just happened. You can change all that right there in Atlanta. You guys can change it. It's
Yeah.
up to you all to change it if it's that important to you.
I
So
think
that's what I say. And them
these
other
kinds of
37
things
states.
these things sort of come around though, and usually um, there's different places that get boycotted or events get pulled from certain cities. I mean, I can remember they used to be mad at Cincinnati for wasn't it about an artist that was gonna do like have an art show there or something. It was a long time ago. Can't
Can't
remember.
remember.
They were mad at Cincinnati for something, and then a bunch of people pulled out of Cincinnati. They've been mad at Indianapolis. They've been mad at all kinds of places, and they pulled events from it. And you don't really hear about that now. I don't think
Yeah,
that it really affects them a couple years later. I'm not
yeah,
sure that like people are going to remember and said, "Oh, Atlanta, that's a bad place. You don't want to go there. You don't want to have your event in Atlanta." I'm not
yeah.
sure that because I think that we're on the right side of history with these bills as far as voting access and voting rights, and I think that they will remedy it eventually.
Hmm.
Um, so
But this is gonna have lasting effects because Will Smith just pulled his movie out of Atlanta also.
yeah, there's a lot of not Hollywood because it's not actually Hollywood. There's a lot of production,
Yeah,
entertainment production, movie, television production in Atlanta.
yeah.
Um,
Like, what is Tyler Perry gonna do? He's in Atlanta. Is he gonna stop making movies temporarily, or?
I don't know.
But like I said, Will Smith had a movie coming out, Emancipation, and he pulled it out. Like, screw him. He said, "This it ain't happening in Atlanta. Not gonna
Mm,
happen." So I mean, and the difference is that's one thing I mentioned on Facebook the other day is that you have people now with power and money to make moves and make you that will give you a consequence for your actions. This happened 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and there was not enough minority power in place to make a difference. You have
mm,
baseball players that probably told the league, I don't want to play in Atlanta. You know what I'm
mm,
saying? So you have these actors and actresses who are saying, I don't want to do a movie in Georgia. I'm not
mm.
doing it. And so you have that in play now because the power there is there and the money's there. And they could take Will Smith can take that movie anywhere in the world he wants to take it.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
has the finances to do it. So we have to look at
I
that. So let's
think
go
that
to go ahead.
I think that baseball isn't as engaged in their communities, the
You don't
players
think? You
themselves.
don't think?
No, I don't think.
Remember how
I don't.
them in Cleveland they were pretty
I don't
involved
think
though.
that the baseball players in general, compared to the other sports, namely basketball and football, um, that they are engaged in local charities as much. Uh, they don't do as enough investment in local communities as much
I don't
as the
know,
other
man.
leagues.
Well, I would say it depends on it because
That's something we could
I
talk
think
about
it's I think
later,
it's
but yeah.
I think it's regions because if you because you're in Ohio, the teams here have sucked for a couple of years now,
Well,
and
you mentioned
the players they have don't stay long enough. They're not there long enough to really.
okay,
They're not
okay,
because
that's a good point. That's a fair point. No, that's a good point.
if you go back to when we had the 95 season, 90 the
Hmm.
90s when the
Yeah,
Indians
the
were
Cleveland
great
Indians in the '90s. Yeah.
and
Hmm.
those players were there for like almost 10 years. So you think about this, they were very involved in the community. Manny Ramirez, Carlos Baega, all those people were involved in the community. They were doing things. They were hanging out in the
Okay,
flats. They were
okay.
spending their money. And then you look at the football players
But
now,
but you mentioned like some of the players that might want that might not want to play in the All-Star game. I
Oh
didn't
yeah.
hear any player say anything about that. I didn't hear any player that.
Let
That
me
the
see.
NBA would have said that. You know that there've been NBA players that would have been in mass. Like half of them would have said, "I'm sorry, I'm not going to be in the All-Star game this year."
Well, I'm about to look it
Um,
up right now for you. Georgia voting
okay.
and baseball players, because I thought I heard something about it. Baseball players. I gotta put the word
Well, while you're
players in
looking
there.
that up, Jeff says, ironically, Atlanta didn't follow Cleveland with changing their baseball team name. No, they didn't. The difference is though that the Braves have that tomahawk symbol. It's not necessarily the Indians' name.
Yeah,
It's their mascot logo that
yeah,
people object to. So that I think
yeah.
that's the difference, that they didn't feel like they needed to change the Atlanta baseball team name,
Well,
where
also some
in
more with that
Cleveland
though.
that they did.
Well, some
Go
more.
ahead.
It's some more to that. Um, I think in Georgia, for the Atlanta Braves as well as the Florida State Seminoles,
Mhm.
they had permission from the Indian tribe or the
Mm,
Native American tribes in those
mhm.
areas for the permission. I think the same thing with the Blackhawks. The hockey team had
Yeah,
the same
yeah,
thing. The difference is that the Cleveland Indians number one had a logo that was very mocking of an
yeah,
Indian person because
yeah,
it looks nothing like an Indian person.
right.
I said the word Indian because at that time they called them Indians, but we
Yes.
now call them Native Americans. And same thing with the Washington Redskins. It wasn't the image on the Washington Redskins helmet that was
In
bad.
that case, it was the
It
name.
was the name that was a
Yeah,
derogatory statement. It's like calling a person the N word. You don't call them Redskins.
yeah.
That was
Could
a
you imagine going
derogatory.
around calling people yellow skins or,
Right.
I mean,
So if you remember, man, what's his name from ESPN? He had the shirt on.
Stephen A. Smith?
No, no,
Oh,
no,
no, I know what
no.
you're talking about. I know what you're talking about.
And he
Yeah.
calls it called the Caucasians. Remember?
Yeah.
And he was like, "What do you think people would say
I
about
gotta,
that?"
I mean, I know it's not supposed to be funny, but it's just funny. This
Bahami
guy,
Jones, Bahami Jones. And
yeah,
so when he did that, it caught people's attention. Like, whoa! It wasn't. It wasn't. People didn't take kindly to that because it was very discriminatory. And so I'm gonna bring it up right quick. It was
I thought it
very,
was fun. I wasn't offended. I thought it was funny,
but there
to
were
be
those
honest.
that were offended because they're like, "Oh,
They're
you know what I'm
ridiculous.
saying?
They're ridiculous.
He's showing the
Yeah.
shirt off." And so they thought it was very, they thought it was mocking. It wasn't right. And the reason why it looks like that, because I'm going to show you another logo. This is the argument I use for logos. So when you bring up Notre Dame, right? Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
Okay.
You bring up their logo. Um, of course, you can't find it. Football team,
I can
football
picture it in
logo.
my head as you're talking.
Yeah, but I'm pulling it up. So you look at this guy. He's like a little short, leprechaun there, but he doesn't look like the mocking look.
It's not a mocking image though.
Right.
It's not a
So,
mocking image.
but you look at the face of a white person. He looks tough. He looks mean. He looks like a team player. He looks like somebody that's ready to fight in the battle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Fighting Irish. So then I go over to this one right here. Um, so you go to this logo. Still gives you the resemblance. This is supposed to be what, you don't see that, do you?
Nope.
So you look at this picture here, and again, we're looking at it from the perception of being a white person. So you got this logo. And then you go to the old, remember the old Patriots?
Oh gosh.
The
I
old
can't
Patriots.
picture it. I
Oh,
can't picture it.
I'll show it to you. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, okay. I remember. I remember now. Yeah.
See what I'm
Hmm,
saying?
hmm.
He looks like someone, that's it's
Tough.
a respectable, tough character.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a respectable, tough character that you can move advertisement out the way, that you can wear on the side of your helmet. But then when you go back to this one, do you see the difference? What is tough about that? Number one, and it takes you back to the old blackface days of the smiling image, the
Yes.
mockery,
Yep. It's
and
a
they don't
mockery.
want.
It's a
And
mockery.
and what do they say about the one Native American that wears the one feather? Where's the whole big thing of feathers in their hair like they're supposed to have? The
Chief.
headdress,
Yeah.
the
The
headdress.
headdress.
You get this one feather. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't look too tough, right?
Yeah. I mean,
So
if you only got one feather, then uh, you're probably not the bravest warrior in your tribe. I mean, the
so
reason why the chief has got all those feathers is because he's got respect,
yeah.
he has honor, and he probably has killed more in the hunt than anyone else.
So look through. Just go ahead and Google logos of sports teams. Compare the ones that give you the image of a Caucasian person,
Hmm.
and look at how tough they are. Not just how tough, but how respectable they look. Even the Boston Celtics, the little chubby dude, he still look respectable. He has a tuxedo on and a top hat, you know? So I've had these conversations with people before, man, and it's like, I tell them that's why it's
You know,
offensive.
I have to go with the old brownie. Look that one up.
Yeah, the old elf, the
Just
little
just
elf.
to be yeah, the little elf. Why don't we bring back the little elf?
Yeah, 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 yeah. But see, he doesn't
You don't like
represent
the little elf?
but he doesn't represent anybody, man.
Then he's safe.
He's safe, right, 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 right. He's safe. Here he is, right here.
I
But he
mean,
does.
are we making fun of little forced creatures?
But he's still like a
Are
little
we
white
making
dude,
fun of
man.
fairy creatures?
He do like a white dude, man. I'm looking at him now. So you're gonna have some complaints from people. Where is he? The brown elf? This him here?
Yeah. What's wrong with him?
Yeah.
He
I think I think
he looks
I
happy.
think I got another picture of him here. I got a bigger picture of him. Here you go, right there, man.
What's wrong with that?
There was a guy I used to
I
work
have a
with.
hat with that on it.
There's a guy. Remember the guy who used to run around the stadium like that, the elf suit at the
No,
stadium? Yeah, there
no.
in the 80s, there was a guy that had the little elf suit on. It was
Okay.
in the 80s and the late 70s. Well, in the late 80s, I worked at this company, and the mascot used to work with us. They used to wear a suit every Sunday.
Really?
He used to dress up like that, yeah, on
Okay.
Sundays. He used to walk through the stadium, yeah. So anyway,
Well,
man,
I
it's
don't know.
getting late.
I don't know what the guy that does the guy with the big bass drum still come to all the Indian games?
Oh,
I
John
don't know what
Adams.
he's going to do now.
His name was John Adams.
Yeah.
Uh he didn't play last year, but I think he was there like every year. He sits in the
He's
bleachers.
been he's been there
Yeah, since the
every
old
home
days.
game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
ever.
forever.
He's been there for.
Forever.
His name is John Adams. Uh, he's a
I mean, if they're not going to change, if they're not going to do a Native American name, I don't know what he's going to do now, you know.
well, that don't mean got to stop the drum, man. Native Americans weren't the only ones that played drums.
It's a war drum, you know. You're going to
Yeah, you're right.
now. Yeah, that's true. He doesn't have to stop the drum. You're right. You're right.
Yeah, he looks good, man. He looks good, dude. He looks good. I found him.
It's like
What you
the big buck or buck nut or whatever he's at every Ohio State game with the big necklace and
Yeah,
big
here we
dude.
go, right here, man. There you go, John Adams.
Hmm.
That's him, man. That's the drummer. Was he Native American? Do you know?
I have no idea.
I don't either. I gotta look. I gotta do some research on him, man. But that's a picture. That's a picture from February 2020.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So anyway, man, I'm done for tonight.
Yep.
So we're gonna talk more in depth about these conversations on Saturday. I can't wait, man. We're gonna dig in deep, a little deeper, and have some really in-depth dialogue, and hopefully we get some
We
people
want to
that
get
want
to
to
the
discuss it.
update of the Chauvin trial and talk more about these unfortunate shooting events that we seem to have
They may have
uh,
a verdict by next weekend, man. By Saturday. Two
by
more days.
Saturday.
I'm just
You
joking.
mean?
No, I'm just joking. Because
I don't think so.
they're gonna have a laptop. They're not gonna go into the courtroom like you used to review video footage.
Hmm.
They're gonna do it all from their deliberation room,
That makes
and
sense.
and they're
Yeah.
gonna have a laptop to go through all the video footage that they've seen in court. So
Yeah.
they can go step by step, slow as they want, and everything. They don't need any assist. They're gonna have it all do it all
Yeah,
on
I
their
want
own.
to. Yeah, I want to talk to you about that and
Okay.
what you think
Yep.
what you think the verdict to be. So
Well, yeah, we'll talk about that because it was a glitch today that might change some things.
yeah,
So anyway, man,
a
you
couple
have
of
a good
glitches.
night.
Yep.
You have a
All
good
right,
night.
we'll see everyone Saturday morning. Join us at 8 Central Standard Time and 9 Eastern Standard Time. See the way I did that? I turned it around.
Yeah, turn around, man. It's okay. So we catch y'all later now. Peace.